Welcome back to LinguaNest Podcast. I am Jimmy.
And I am Maya.
Have you ever gone to a hair salon, but didn't know what to say in English?
You understand everything, but when it's your turn to speak, your mind goes blank.
Today, we will help you speak confidently at a salon, step by step.
You will learn how to book a haircut, talk to the stylist, and describe your new look easily.
By the end of this video, you will feel ready to speak in real life.
So stay with us, and practice with us.
And tell us, where are you watching from, and what time is it in your country?
So Jimmy, last week, I went to a hair salon, and honestly, I was a little nervous.
Really? What happened?
I walked in, and the place looked very professional. People were talking in English, and I started thinking, what should I say first?
Oh wow, so you felt confused.
Yes, exactly. I knew some English, but in that moment, everything just disappeared from my mind.
That happens to many people. So what did you do then?
I went to the front desk and said, "Hello. I want haircut."
Not perfect, but still good you tried.
Yes, but I felt shy. I thought maybe I said it wrong.
And how did they respond?
The lady smiled and said, "Sure. Do you have an appointment?"
Oh, you didn't have one, right?
Yes, I didn't understand at first. I just stayed quiet for a second.
That awkward silence. I know that feeling.
Then I said, "No. I come now."
Ha, okay, I see.
She understood me, but I realized something. Even if your English is not perfect, people still understand you.
That's actually a powerful lesson.
Yes. Then she asked me to wait, and I sat there thinking, next time, I want to speak better English.
So that experience made you want to improve?
Exactly. I didn't want to feel confused again. I wanted to speak clearly and confidently.
That's why today's lesson is important.
Yes, because many people go through the same situation.
And today, we will fix that step by step.
So Jimmy, after I sat down in the salon, I started observing everything around me very carefully.
What were you looking at?
People were talking confidently with the stylists, like it was so easy for them. They were saying things like, "Make it shorter on the sides," or "Just trim the top."
And you were thinking, how do they speak like that so easily?
Exactly. I was listening to every word, trying to understand, and also trying to learn.
That's actually very smart.
But at the same time, I was also nervous. I kept thinking, what will I say when it's my turn?
That feeling before your turn, it's always stressful.
Yes, and then something happened.
What happened?
The receptionist called my name. Maya.
Oh, that moment.
My heart started beating fast. I stood up and said, "Yes, that's me."
Were you confident this time?
A little, but still nervous inside.
That's normal.
Then the stylist smiled and said, "Please come with me."
Okay, good, friendly start.
Yes. I sat on the chair, and he asked me, "So, what would you like today?"
And your mind went blank again.
Completely blank. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to say it in English.
That's the biggest problem for learners.
Yes, in my mind I was thinking clearly, but I couldn't express it.
So what did you do?
I said slowly, "I want simple haircut."
Short and simple, but understandable.
Yes, and he said, "Okay, how short?"
That's where it gets difficult.
Exactly. I didn't know words like trim or layers, so I just used my hands to show him.
Using gestures always helps.
Yes, I said, "Not too short, just little."
And did he understand?
Yes, he nodded and said, okay, I understand.
That must have made you feel better.
A lot better, because I realized something important.
What did you realize?
You don't need perfect English, you just need simple words and confidence.
That's a powerful point.
Yes, and then slowly, I started feeling more relaxed.
So your fears started going away?
Yes, little by little.
That's how confidence builds.
Exactly, and I told myself, next time, I will speak even better.
And that's what we are helping people do today.
Yes, so they don't feel confused like I did.
And they can walk into any salon and speak confidently.
So Jimmy, after I told him simple haircut, the stylist gently started working on my hair, and at that moment, I was still a little nervous inside.
Still nervous? Even after he understood you?
Yes, because I was thinking, what if he cuts too much?
Oh, that fear is real.
Exactly, and then he asked me something again.
What did he say?
He said, do you want me to use scissors or machine on the sides?
Oh wow, that's a tricky question for a beginner.
Yes. I understood machine, but I wasn't sure about scissors at that moment.
So what did you do?
I paused for a second, then I said, machine, but not too short.
That's actually a very good answer.
Yes, and then he showed me with his fingers, like this much.
Using fingers to show length.
Yes, and I said, yes, that's good.
So now you were starting to communicate better?
Yes, slowly, I was becoming more comfortable.
That's how confidence grows, step by step.
Then he started cutting, and I was looking in the mirror, watching every move.
Were you still worried?
A little, because I didn't want my hair to become too short.
Did you say anything?
Yes, after some time, I said, please not too short on top.
Nice. That's clear and simple.
Yes, and he replied, don't worry, I'll keep it longer on top.
That must have relaxed you.
Yes, I felt much better after that.
Good communication really helps.
Exactly, then he asked, do you want a clean neck?
Oh, another new phrase.
Yes. I didn't fully understand, so I said, sorry.
That's very important, asking again.
Yes, and he explained, I mean cleaning the back of your neck.
And then you understood.
Yes, and I said, yes, please.
Perfect.
Then he asked, do you use any hair product?
That's a bit advanced.
Yes. I didn't know the exact words, but I said, sometimes, gel.
That works.
Yes, and he said, I can style your hair at the end.
Nice offer.
Yes, and I said, okay.
So now you were actually having a real conversation.
Yes, and that's when I realized something very important.
What did you realize this time?
Even if you don't know every word, you can still communicate by listening carefully, speaking slowly, and not being afraid.
That's a big lesson for learners.
Yes, because at the start, I was very nervous, but now I was talking more freely.
That transformation is powerful.
Yes, and the stylist was also very kind. He helped me understand everything.
Good people make learning easier.
Exactly, and then, step by step, the haircut was almost done.
So this was the moment you started feeling confident.
Yes. I wasn't scared anymore. I was actually enjoying the experience.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I thought, next time, I will speak even better English.
And that's exactly what we want for everyone watching.
Yes, to go from nervous to confident, just like this. So Jimmy, now the haircut was almost finished, but this was actually the most important moment for me.
The final moment, when you see yourself in the mirror.
Yes, but before that, the stylist started doing the final touches, and he became even more detailed.
What do you mean by detailed?
He was checking every side, fixing small areas, making sure everything looked clean and balanced.
That sounds very professional.
Yes, and then he asked me, "Do you want your hair more textured?"
Oh, that's a difficult word for beginners.
Exactly. I didn't understand textured at first, and for a second, I felt that same confusion again.
That moment when you hear a new word, and your brain freezes.
Yes, but this time, I didn't stay silent.
What did you do differently?
I asked him, "What do you mean?"
That's a big improvement.
Yes, and he explained, "It means making your hair look more natural and light."
And then you understood.
Yes, and I said, "Yes, that sounds good."
Wow, you were actually having a real conversation now.
Yes, and I wasn't scared anymore. I felt more confident.
That's a big transformation from chapter 1.
Exactly. Then he started using scissors again, very lightly, just to add some style.
Were you watching in the mirror?
Yes. I was watching everything carefully, but now I was not worried. I trusted him.
That's important, trust and communication.
Yes, and then he asked another question.
What did he ask this time?
He said, "Do you want me to clean your beard as well?"
Oh, another decision moment.
Yes, and this time, I answered quickly. Yes, just a little.
No hesitation this time.
No hesitation, that's the difference.
That shows your confidence really improved.
Yes, and then he used a trimmer, very carefully, and asked, "Is this okay?"
And what did you say?
I said, "Yes, that's perfect."
Simple, clear, confident.
Yes, and then finally, he turned the chair toward the mirror and said, "Okay, take a look."
That's the big moment.
Yes. I looked at myself, and honestly, I was surprised.
In a good way?
Yes, in a very good way. My hair looked clean, fresh, and exactly how I wanted.
That must have made you happy.
Very happy, and I smiled and said, "Wow, I like it."
Nice.
And he asked, "Are you satisfied?"
Important question.
Yes, and I said, "Yes, I really like it."
That's a full sentence. Great improvement.
Yes, before, I was speaking in broken sentences, but now I was speaking clearly.
That's the progress we want.
Exactly, and then he said, "I can add some gel to style it."
Did you agree?
Yes. I said, "Okay, just a little."
Simple and natural.
And he styled my hair, and it looked even better.
That final touch always makes a difference.
Yes, and at that moment, I realized something very powerful.
What did you realize this time?
Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything, it comes from trying, making mistakes, and continuing to speak.
That's a very important lesson.
Yes, because in the beginning, I was scared to even speak one sentence.
And now?
Now I was having a full conversation, asking questions, answering confidently, and understanding everything.
That's a complete transformation.
Yes, and anyone can do this, if they practice.
That's why this lesson matters.
Exactly, because real-life English is not about perfect grammar, it's about communication.
And you proved that.
Yes, and when I looked in the mirror again, it wasn't just my haircut that changed.
What else changed?
My confidence.
That's powerful.
Yes. I walked into the salon as a nervous person.
And you walked out as?
A confident English speaker, at least more than before.
That's exactly the goal.
Yes, step by step, conversation by conversation, we improve.
And that's what everyone watching can do too.
So Jimmy, after I saw my haircut and felt happy, I thought the difficult part was over.
But something else was waiting, right?
Yes, the payment and final conversation, and honestly, this part is also very important in real life.
True, Many people don't know what to say at the end.
Exactly. So the stylist smiled and said, "You can pay at the counter."
Simple sentence, but still a moment of interaction.
Yes. I walked to the counter, and inside my mind, I was preparing again. What should I say now?
That inner thinking never stops.
Yes. Then I reached the counter, and the lady said, "Did you like your haircut?"
That's a very common question.
Yes, and this time, I didn't hesitate at all.
Oh, what did you say?
I said, "Yes, I really like it. Thank you."
Full sentence, polite and confident.
Yes, and she smiled and said, "That's great."
That must have made you feel even better.
Yes. Then she said, "The total is 1,500 rupees."
Okay, normal situation.
Yes, but I wanted to ask something in English.
What did you want to ask?
I wanted to ask, "Do you accept card?"
And did you ask it?
Yes. I said clearly, "Do you accept card?"
Perfect question.
And she said, "Yes, we do."
Smooth conversation.
Yes. I gave my card, and while she was processing the payment, she asked me another question.
Oh, more conversation.
Yes, she said, "Is this your first time here?"
That's a great small talk question.
Yes, and I answered, "Yes, it's my first time."
Nice.
Then she said, "We hope to see you again."
Friendly and welcoming.
Yes, and I replied, "Yes, I will come again."
That's natural and simple English.
Yes, and in that moment, I realized something very important again.
What did you realize now?
English is not only about big conversations, it's also about these small, simple sentences.
Exactly, daily life English.
Yes, because even a simple "thank you" or "I like it" can make communication smooth.
That's true.
Then she gave me the receipt and said, "Here you go."
And you responded?
I said, "Thank you so much."
Polite and confident again.
Yes, and then something interesting happened.
What happened?
Another customer was standing next to me, and he asked the receptionist something in English.
And you understood it?
Yes. I understood most of it, and that made me feel proud.
That's a big moment for any learner.
Yes, because before, I used to feel lost when people spoke English around me.
And now?
Now I was understanding, and also speaking.
That's real progress.
Yes, and then I turned back to the stylist and said, "Thank you, it looks really good."
That's very natural.
Yes, and he said, "You're welcome."
Simple but meaningful exchange.
Yes, and at that moment, I felt something different inside me.
What did you feel?
I felt confident, not just because of the haircut, but because I spoke English in a real situation.
That's the real achievement.
Yes, because learning from books is one thing.
But using it in real life is something else.
Exactly, and this was my real life practice.
That's powerful.
Yes, and I understood another important thing.
What is it?
You don't need difficult words, you just need simple, clear sentences, and courage to speak.
That's the key message.
Yes, and even if you make mistakes, it's okay.
Because communication is more important than perfection.
Exactly, and no one laughed at me, no one judged me.
That's an important realization.
Yes, people are usually kind and helpful.
That removes a lot of fear.
Yes, and that day, I told myself something.
What did you tell yourself?
I said, "From today, I will not be afraid to speak English."
That's a strong decision.
Yes, because confidence grows when you use the language, not when you stay silent.
That's very true.
And that small experience at the salon changed the way I think about speaking English.
A simple haircut, but a powerful lesson.
Yes, sometimes small situations teach us the biggest lessons.
And this is one of them.
So Jimmy, after I finished the payment and said thank you, I started walking toward the exit of the salon, but something inside me felt very different.
Different how?
I didn't feel nervous anymore. I didn't feel confused. I felt calm, and surprisingly, a little proud of myself.
That's a big change from the beginning.
Yes, because when I entered the salon, my mind was full of fear. What should I say? Will I make mistakes? Will people understand me?
And now those thoughts were gone.
Almost gone. Now I was thinking, I did it. I actually spoke English in a real situation.
That feeling is powerful.
Yes, and as I was walking out, the receptionist said, "Have a nice day."
Another chance to respond.
Yes, and without thinking too much, I smiled and said, "You too."
Quick and natural.
Yes, no hesitation, no fear, just a simple, confident response.
That shows real improvement.
Yes, and then I stepped outside the salon, and I stopped for a moment.
Why did you stop?
I just stood there, thinking about everything that happened inside.
Reflecting on your experience.
Yes, and I realized something very deep.
Tell me.
Most of my fear was not real. It was only in my mind.
That's true for many learners.
Yes. I was afraid of making mistakes, but when I actually spoke, nothing bad happened.
Exactly.
People understood me, they helped me, and the conversation went smoothly.
That's a big lesson.
Yes, and then I looked at people walking on the street.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking, everyone is speaking, everyone is communicating, and I can do it too.
That mindset is very important.
Yes, because before, I used to feel like English was something difficult, something only confident people could do.
And now?
Now I felt like, it's just a skill, and anyone can learn it with practice.
That's the truth.
Yes, and then I decided to test myself again.
Oh, what did you do?
I went to a small shop nearby, just to buy something.
Just to practice English again?
Yes. I didn't need anything important. I just wanted to speak.
That's a great idea.
I went inside and said, "Hello."
Simple start.
Yes, and the shopkeeper said, "Hello."
And then?
I asked, "How much is this?"
Nice, basic question.
Yes, and when he answered, I understood him easily.
That must have boosted your confidence even more.
Yes, because I realized, it's not just the salon. I can use English anywhere.
That's the real goal.
Exactly, then I said, "Okay, I'll take it."
Smooth conversation again.
Yes, and after I left the shop, I felt even more confident.
Like you unlocked something new.
Yes, it felt like a door opened in my mind.
That's a powerful feeling.
Yes, and I understood another important thing.
What is it this time?
Practice doesn't only happen in classrooms, it happens in real life, in small situations.
That's where real learning happens.
Yes, because every small conversation builds your confidence step by step.
Like building a habit.
Exactly, and then I thought about my past.
What about it?
I remembered how many times I stayed silent, just because I was afraid to speak English.
That's something many people experience.
Yes, but now I realized, staying silent was the real mistake.
Not speaking holds you back.
Yes, because when you don't speak, you don't learn.
That's true.
But when you try, even with mistakes, you grow.
That's the key.
Yes, and then I made a small promise to myself.
What promise?
I said, from today, I will speak English whenever I get a chance.
That's a strong decision.
Yes, not perfect English, just simple English, but I will speak.
That's the right approach.
Yes, because fluency doesn't come from thinking, it comes from speaking.
Very true.
And that day, something changed inside me.
What changed?
My mindset. I stopped seeing English as something scary.
And started seeing it as?
Something natural, something I can use every day.
That's a big shift.
Yes, and it all started from one simple situation.
A haircut appointment.
Yes, a simple haircut, but a life-changing experience for my confidence.
That's powerful.
Yes, and if I can do it, anyone can do it.
That's the message for everyone watching.
Yes, don't wait to be perfect, just start speaking.
And confidence will follow.
So Jimmy, after that day, something didn't just change in that moment, it stayed with me.
Stayed with you?
Yes, it wasn't just about the salon anymore. It was about how I see myself now.
That sounds deep. What do you mean?
Before that day, I always thought, I am not good at English.
That negative belief.
Yes, every time I had a chance to speak, I would stop myself before even trying.
Like your mind was blocking you.
Exactly, my mind was telling me, you will make mistakes, people will judge you, stay quiet.
And you believed it.
Yes, for a long time.
But that salon experience changed it?
Completely.
How?
Because for the first time, I didn't listen to that fear. I just spoke.
And nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad, in fact, everything went well.
That's powerful evidence for your brain.
Yes, and now my mind started saying something different.
What did it say?
You can do this, you already did it once.
That's a big shift.
Yes, and from that day, I started noticing more opportunities to speak English.
Like what?
Simple things, like ordering food, asking for directions, talking to people in shops.
Everyday situations.
Yes, before, I avoided them, but now, I started using them as practice.
That's how real learners grow.
Exactly, and every time I spoke, even a small sentence, my confidence increased.
Step by step.
Yes, not suddenly, but slowly, like building something strong.
Like building a new version of yourself.
Yes, and that's when I understood something very important.
Tell me.
English is not just a language, it's a skill, and also a habit.
A habit?
Yes, if you don't use it, it feels difficult, but if you use it daily, it becomes natural.
That makes sense.
And confidence is also a habit. The more you speak, the less fear you feel.
So fear decreases with action.
Exactly. And I also realized something about mistakes.
What about mistakes?
Before, I thought mistakes are bad, but now I see them as part of learning.
That's the right mindset.
Yes, because every mistake teaches you something new.
And helps you improve.
Exactly, and now, when I speak English, I don't try to be perfect.
Then what do you focus on?
I focus on communication, on expressing my idea, even if my grammar is not perfect.
That's real fluency.
Yes, and something interesting started happening.
What happened?
People started understanding me more easily, and I started understanding them better too.
That's a two-way improvement.
Yes, because when you practice speaking, your listening also improves.
That's true.
And then, one day, something happened that really surprised me.
What was it?
I was talking to someone in English, and I didn't even realize I was speaking English.
Wow, that's a big moment.
Yes, it felt natural, like I was not translating in my head anymore.
That's the goal for every learner.
Yes, and I smiled to myself, because I remembered that first day at the salon.
When you were nervous and confused.
Yes, and now I was speaking without fear.
That's a full transformation.
Yes, and I realized something very powerful again.
What is it this time?
One small step can change everything.
One step.
Yes, just one moment where you decide to speak, even if you are scared.
That first step matters the most.
Exactly, because after that, the next step becomes easier, and then the next, and then the next.
Like a chain reaction.
Yes, and that's how confidence grows.
Slowly but strongly.
Yes, and now, when I think about English, I don't feel fear anymore.
What do you feel now?
I feel opportunity. I feel growth. I feel freedom to express myself.
That's beautiful.
Yes, because language is not just words, it's connection, it's communication, it's expression.
And now you are using it.
Yes, and I want everyone listening to understand this.
What message do you want to give them?
Don't wait to be perfect. Don't wait to feel ready.
Then what should they do?
Just start speaking, even if it's simple, even if it's not perfect.
That's the key.
Yes, because your confidence is waiting on the other side of your first sentence.
That's powerful.
And remember, I started with I want haircut.
And now?
Now I can have full conversations, without fear.
That shows what practice can do.
Yes, so if you are watching this,
And you feel nervous about speaking English,
just take that first step,
speak one sentence.
then another,
And another.
and slowly, your fear will disappear.
And your confidence will grow.
Just like it did for me.
So today, you didn't just learn how to speak at a salon, you learned how to face your fear.
From booking a haircut, to speaking confidently, step by step, you saw the full journey.
Remember, confidence doesn't come first, speaking comes first.
And when you speak, even with simple words, your confidence starts growing naturally.
Don't wait for perfect English, there is no perfect moment.
The real moment is when you decide to open your mouth and speak.
Every small conversation you have is building your future fluency.
Every simple sentence is making you stronger.
So next time you go anywhere, a salon, a shop, a restaurant,
Don't stay silent, speak.
because your English will not improve in your mind.
It will improve in your voice.
And one day, just like Maya,
You will realize you are speaking without fear, without thinking, naturally.
that's the moment everything changes.
So keep practicing, keep speaking, and trust your journey.
And before you go, tell us,
Where are you watching from?
and what time is it in your country right now?